Hello my students, my dear friends, I am Mr. عبدالمقصود from الحرية secondary school to Sيناء, South Sinai. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Ahmed Ali and Mr. Mahmoud Abdelal and Mrs. Intisar Muhammad Arafa, my supervisors, for their help to us. Thanks very much. Today I am going to talk about the first secondary year reader Oliver Twist. Do you know the writer or the author? Yes, he was Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens is considered the most famous writer in the English language after Shakespeare. Today we are going to talk about the setting of Oliver Twist. When we say the setting, we mean that we are talking about the place and the time. The place is in England and the time is in the 19th century during the Industrial Revolution. During the Industrial Revolution, many factories were opening, so many people came from town to find work. They were very poor and they had nowhere to sleep. So they decided to go to workhouses because at least they can find a bed and some sort of food. In a workhouse, Oliver was bored. His mother arrived and she was ill and weak. After his birth, his mother died. The doctor and the nurse didn't know anything about his mother, so no one can know anything about Oliver until now. After his mother's death, he went to an old house where Mrs. Mann was responsible for the orphans. Mrs. Mann was a dishonest and unkind woman. The orphans were always hungry. They didn't have enough food, so they were all small and weak. They didn't like her because she was dishonest. She decided to take the money for herself instead of feeding the young children. When Oliver was 9, Mr. Bumble. Do you know Mr. Bumble? Yes, he is an official at the workhouse. He came to take Oliver because he was old enough to work. He came. What was Oliver's feeling? Was he sad or was he happy? Oliver wasn't sad to leave Mrs. Mann because she was unkind to him and the other orphans. But also he was sad to leave his friends and the only whom he loved. His life at the workhouse was hard. His bed was uncomfortable. All the boys at the workhouse were also hungry, small, weak, and they weren't happy there. The only food they ate, it was thin soup. So they decided to ask for more food and they chose Oliver to ask. When Oliver finished his food and he went to the master to ask him for more food, "Please sir, I want some more." This is an important quotation in chapter 1. My dear students, you should concentrate in important quotations. It's very important for all of you. should know the speaker and to whom and where and all the situation. How was the master when Oliver asked for more food? Yes, he was very angry. He was furious. He was furious. So he went to his managers and told them that Oliver asked for more food. What did they tell him? Do you know? Yes, they told him that if he wasn't happy with their generosity, he must leave. But they weren't generous. They were unkind. They were greedy. Yes, they dealt the boys bad. They dealt them badly. So all the boys didn't like them. How did they punish Oliver? Do you know? Yes. Oliver was locked in a cold room, and he was beaten by Mr. Bumble in front of the boys every meal. And the manager decided to put a message on the door of the workhouse. They offered £5 to anyone who could take Oliver away. They wanted to get rid of him. Yes. Why? Because they didn't want any of the other boys to do like him. Yes. Oliver was sad also to leave his friends who would take him. Do you know, Mrs. Thornberry, a coffin maker, he needed an apprentice, so he decided to take Oliver. Mr. Bumble took Oliver and went to Mr. and Mr. Berry's house. When they first saw Oliver, they weren't pleased. Do you know why? Because Oliver was very small. Yes, they objected as Mr. Berry told Mr. Bumble that Oliver would cost them much money to feed him. Yes, Mrs. Thornberry was also an unkind woman, as she gave Oliver all the food which they hadn't eaten and told him to sleep in the shop. She told him to sleep in the shop. Yes, this is the scene when Oliver asked for more food, and after that he was punished. Yes, his Bumble taking him to Mr. Thornberry. Yes, he is sleeping. Yes, in the cold shop. There was another boy who was a helper or assistant for Mr. Thornberry. He was called Nuh. He treated Oliver badly also. He gave him orders and a small kick. He talked badly about his mother. He was jealous of Oliver. He told Oliver that his mother wasn't good, and if she hadn't died at the workhouse, they would have punished her. So Oliver was very angry and hit him hard. Yes, Mr. Thornberry and Mrs. Thornberry locked him in a cellar and brought to bring Mr. Bumble at once. Mr. Bumble blamed Mr. Thornberry for being kind to Oliver and feeding him much meat. He didn't know that he wasn't happy, that he was hungry. He didn't sleep comfortably. Yes, Oliver would decide to escape from his unbearable life. Yes. And this is the end of chapter 1. My students, I'll ask you some questions. Number 1. What is the setting of the story? Number 2. Where was Oliver born? And how was his mother when she arrived there? Number 3. How was Mrs. Mann unkind to Oliver and the orphans? Who was Mr. Bumble? Was he a good man? Number 5. How was Oliver's life at the workhouse? Number 6. How was the master when Oliver asked for more food? How was Oliver punished for asking for more food? Who was Mr. Suberry and why did he take Oliver? How was Mr. Suberry unkind to Oliver? Yes, sir. How did Nuh insult Oliver? And what was Oliver's reaction to him? Why did Oliver decide to run away from Mr. Suberry's house? My best wishes, my dear friends, and with me next time. I am happy to see you. Goodbye, my friends. Mr. Abdulmaqsood.